Thank you, Hale, and everyone. Great party. I'll start with that one. Just a week ago, I wouldn't have been able to even go to a place like that with all the noise and a disco ball, my lord. It's been 30 years. Due to the extreme sensitivity to noise, lights, and whatever. I saw other people last night blocking their ears, and I wasn't. I didn't have anything but happiness and joy and peace, a little bit of love. This morning, I need to take medication for what supposedly happened to me. I forgot about it, and I didn't realize it until about a half an hour ago. And I didn't need it. My joints don't hurt. They did a few days ago. And they did with my little stunt, as I was made aware of last night. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm just assuming it was a major release. And by the way, in the Financial Liberation Retreat, that was the first experience to the Sedona method, I was worried about what I was going to do for a living. I didn't have a job. I'm on disability. My stock account's gone up hundreds of %. Effortlessly. Thank you. I thank God for all of this.
Yes.
Whatever that may be to any of you. But then I would get into story and story and story until it got overwhelming. And then I'd throw you on. And I couldn't believe the bliss I would go into. That was another confirmation that I was coming here. I was in a bad state. I threw whatever CD I have downloaded, and I just went into a complete state of ecstasy and bliss, just being. You're going. Mm-hmm. And now I'm staying. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. When we do retreats like this, even 7-day retreats, it gets harder and harder to find a problem towards the end of the week. And so especially here, I'd like to encourage you, you can be next, Terry. I'd like to encourage you to come up if you just simply want to explore the truth of who you are. You don't have to wait for a problem. Because I'd really like to make sure that for the rest of the time we have together, in addition to whatever else we do, that anyone who's interested, if you're not interested, it's fine, but anyone who's interested, I want to make sure that you've gotten a lot more clarity about the truth of who you are.
Like somebody earlier got up and said, I feel like as we're working through stuff, I get the releases and that. I do remember one time when I was working, the last time I was here, and we went into that sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, the state of who you are or whatever. And it was like everything sort of expanded.
Right.
It was very large. And when I'm here today, nothing sort of feels that way, but it just feels very peaceful.
Yes, yes. So before I work there, I want to say something to everybody. Even though I've said this before, I want to keep reminding you of several things. Part of where we get caught is we're comparing now to any other then. So you had an experience that was a positive experience, and now what you're doing is it like that? Every time you're going through life like this. Is that like that? Is that like that? Is that like that? Is that like that? And it is a distraction. You're distracting yourself from that which is always here, always now. So no matter how good of an experience you had a second ago, forget it. I'm serious, forget it. It doesn't matter. The trying to get back to a then is just a distraction from the exquisite beauty and the presence and the awareness and the isness and the truth of who you are, which is now. As Martin said, it's actually beyond now, but if you can just get it's now, that's a good start. It's actually out of time and out of space. Not in outer space, out of space. I said that quickly, so it sounded like outer space. And it's really not inner or outer either. It has nothing to do with going inside. You notice years ago when I did releases, these long releases, I used to say, all right, sit back, relax, and focus inside. And I haven't said that for like 5 years. Because I realized I was saying it on one retreat and going, what are you doing that for? You're telling people there's somewhere to go. Because there isn't. There is no inside separate from outside. If you don't believe me, see if you can find where inside ends and outside begins. They're just concepts. Yes, of course, there's an inside of the carcass and an outside of the carcass. But since you're not that, it doesn't really matter. And closing your eyes and focusing inside your food body doesn't actually get you any closer to what you are when you're focusing outside the food body. So it's not about focusing. It's also not about not focusing. Because again, I heard a rule in a few months, I should stop focusing inside, everything would be fine. No. Just don't worry about it. It's allow your focus to go where it needs to every moment. The other thing is, and it's not about getting back to a good experience. If it's any kind of experience, no matter how positive, it has a beginning, middle, and end, and it isn't the truth. It's not who you are. You are what's beyond experience, what doesn't change. So, and then the other thing was, besides the comparing, is you're thinking there's a state to get to.
But like imperturbability or whatever, you want to be like that all day, right?
Yes, I understand. So let me explain. Lester, as I said a few times this week, was a salesman for freedom. And I fall into that trap too, I admit. I definitely do. And the sales pitch for freedom is not freedom. Imperturbability is that which you already are. The body-mind being imperturbable may or may not happen. It certainly gets a lot more imperturbable as you know the truth of who you are, but it still responds appropriately to what's happening around it. I saw Lester get angry. It was often at me. And especially the last few years when there were some challenges that faced the old nonprofit that was closed in the mid-90s, and he would sometimes yell and scream at me about not doing enough. Of course, there was always a twinkle in his eye, so he didn't fully buy into it. And in my experience, Nisargadatta, some of people's biggest breakthroughs around Nisargadatta Maharaj was when he almost physically threw them out of satsang. Satsang is just when you get together with a teacher, or you get together with others, it doesn't matter if there's a teacher there or not, and you're focusing on the truth. And Nisargadatta Maharaj, by the way, if I haven't yet recommended I Am That by Nisargadatta Maharaj, I highly recommend that book. Yes. By the way, I think I already told you that this was The last couple, Lester, when he was dying, I was one of his caregivers. I was his main caregiver for a while, and then towards the end, he threw me out because I think he didn't want to have a tug of war with me. And one of my friends took over as his main caregiver. I became the secondary caregiver. But while I was his main caregiver, this is what I used to read to him from as his bedtime story. He liked hearing the words of Nisargadatta Maharaj right before he went to sleep. So anyway, I highly recommend this book. But Nisargadatta was known for having a fiery temper. There are a lot of teachers who discover the truth of who they are that are now out there teaching from his tradition, who got there, the thing that shocked them enough to help them see the truth of who they were was when Nisargadatta was furious at them. Imperturbability is not dead. It's not a static state. But it is already, again, a lot of times when we hear freedom described, now remember, when you're describing freedom, you're lying because you're using words, and it has nothing to do with that. But often when it's described, it's talked about in descriptive terms of what the state is, and we take it as a prescription. So let me explain what I mean by that. That beingness that you are is already imperturbability. It already is that. But how we hear that often is, I need to get more imperturbable. I'm going to take my ego and take it into imperturbability. It doesn't work that way. The nature of body-minds is to react. Life is a flow. Life is constantly changing. What you are is changeless. So I've also seen this. People will sit in caves for years at a time trying to imitate changelessness. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Many people who have sat in caves and discovered profound truths about themselves. But there's a much larger group of people who have been in an ashram or a cave or a monastery for decades, and they come out for whatever reason, and their first interaction with human beings, and they're a basket case again. Because they were just imitating the top state, as opposed to, again, bad words, top state. That assumes there are levels and it's a state, so it's neither of those. Again, it's hard to describe this in words. So another way of saying it is a stateless state, but that's still a state, and it's not and it's not Alabama or Arizona, using U.S. states. So it's not about the body, you having no more emotion. Also, all of you have probably heard, and so many people are at war with their minds trying to shut them up. It's a full-time job for most people. If they've heard about this stuff, they go, oh, shut up, mind. Stop talking. Stop talking to me. I don't want to hear about it. And by the way, if your mind gets bored with talking to you, we'll just play you a song. Everyone has a portable jukebox. A portable MP3 player in their head that will play the same song over and over and over and over again. And so the goal is not to quiet the mind. This was a revelation when I saw this. It's as you let go and discover the truth of who you are, you become quiet with the mind. There's a quiet with the mind because you're not trying to change it. You're not identifying with it. You don't think you are all those sounds in your head. Most of us think we are the conversations we have in our head. We don't bother to notice that they appear from nowhere and disappear into nowhere. And they come completely uninvited and leave even when there's plenty of thoughts we try to hold on to. Do they stay? No. They're just waves on that ocean that you are. So it's not about having a calm ocean. The nature of ocean, in the center, it's calm. But on the surface, there are waves. That's normal. The surface of what you are is what you're consciously aware of. That's just the surface. So trying to control the surface is a waste of time. But at the same time, the more you release, the more you discover the truth of who you are, the surface tends to get quieter, tends to be a lot more fun. But is it a guarantee? No. It's definitely not. It's not about that. So I guess that wasn't just for you, it was for everybody.
Yeah. So since I've been doing the Sedona method and coming to these intensively, working on it, I got all kinds of gains. Goals just knocked off that I couldn't believe, and other things come up. I write a new goal, it happens, that sort of stuff. Release on those, all that. But what happens, I start to, when I get to a point too, kind of undermine that a little bit or stop it in some kind of way. And I notice even sometimes when you talk about, finding yourself or going in there, what comes up instead of peace is nervousness, a little bit of fear about, because it's maybe fear of losing yourself, or maybe it's fear of losing your identity or something like that.
Well, that's assuming you have one.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the basis of it.
So
it's a powerful hold, that identity.
No, it's not.
Oh, I've made it powerful.
No, you haven't even done that.
Oh, okay.
Let's just check to see if you can find it. In this moment, Jerry, see if you can find a me.
Well, I can point to a me.
Now, so are you this point in your chest?
No, I understand I'm something larger than that. But I am this body when this body...
Are you sure you're the body?
Well, if I'm this awareness, then when the body dies, the awareness also dies, and then...
No, consciousness definitely ends. It does. But awareness has nothing to do with the body. But we're splitting hairs here. Let's stay with exploring what's here.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. He was hoping he could just talk about it. He was actually relieved when I started talking to all of you. Oh, good. Maybe I can just talk about it. So we can, but that won't help you. So what would you like? Do you want to talk about it?
No, I want to understand that, because to me...
Wait.
Yeah. Okay.
Could you echo wanting to understand it?
Yeah.
Good. So let's just check. If you don't go into memory, and you don't refer to that hunk of food over there, can you actually find a me?
Well, no. It's kind of like a nothingness.
Yeah, kind of like that. So let's explore that.
Okay.
Focus on that, what you're calling nothingness.
Actually, it feels pretty good.
Yeah. When you first said it's kind of a nothingness.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I can feel it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's all we're pointing to. And is there actually a personal center? Does that have a center? Check. Look into your direct experience. Don't go into memory.
Well, no, it feels it's kind of not spatial.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's called space, but it's actually beyond space. It really isn't spatial. And isn't that what you already are?
Yeah, well, I can, I can feel it as you're saying. I
Yes.
feel the sense of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just have trouble believing that's not going to go when I die. That the consciousness and that awareness or something.
Well,
but that's a construct. I guess.
Yeah, it is. It is a total construct. And you can give me a report.
Okay. All right.